Hello and welcome, Campbell here from Autodidactic, back for another chat with Paula. And I don't know, what are we getting into today? The French, are we? Do we be doing that today? Or
we'll get into the French. Hi, everybody. Can we quickly go on that photo? What we did last time, Campbell, in regards to those Sydney photos, someone picked up in one of those photos that two of the women were dowsing. It was a great pickup because we didn't see it. Hope everyone's well today while Campbell's looking for that photo. It's always hard when you send off email photos and poor Campbell's not a mind reader. There we are. So that's the lady on the left.
Yeah. Sticks.
What is she doing? And then the one on the far right, she's doing the same thing.
Oh, yeah, she has got two as well. So, yeah, this was picked up by one of our viewers and they look like they're dowsing for water.
Yeah, but I thought they had to be pointed towards the ground. They're actually pointing at each other.
Oh, yeah, that could be. Maybe it's an old game or something, but I mean, it looks like they're sort of holding them, touching, aren't they? With dowsing, you kind of hold them so they can swing around, don't you? Is that right? They like have to be bent at the end, so they sort of sit in your hands and move by themselves.
Yeah, like a fishbone. Literally like a fishbone. And they're both crossing those sticks and facing each other. So I really don't know what's going on there, but it's very facing towards the house.
Yeah, this one, up here somewhere, and this one sort of across, got the old man in his top hat. So, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with that one. Let us know in the comments if you've got any ideas. But they're definitely doing something with sticks.
Yeah, I just thought I'd bring that up because that was so interesting. Thank you who pointed that out because, you can only just see it, but good spotting. Okay, let's get into it. So if you can go on to the population and land statement. This is, again, just covering some bases here as I go into this, Campbell, like the convict statement of what convicts mean. I found some things regarding the population of Sydney around 1819 when these French explorer and the diarist Arago arrived in 1819. And I just wanted to do some background to see what the population was like, what was sort of going on at the time. And, interesting, again. And this is why we question. You know, it's just an opinion. It's just, things that make me question, things that make Campbell question and a lot of others, because dates and stories sometimes just don't match up. Yeah, before we go into this, I looked at the population for 1819 for Sydney and surrounding areas. And at that time, they were very definite on their amount, and that was 7,000 people for Sydney and surrounding areas. It then increased by 1821 to about 16,000 people. So I'm just pointing out the population by what is being said. The population also there was no census in 1819 whatsoever. What they did was they mustered, and they mustered animals, they mustered convicts, they mustered people. So they were, So there we go. There's the 1820, the not above. I love that. Estimates for 1819 was not above 7,000 people.
1819, and then the next year, they've gained 5,000 people.
Yes.
So it took them, 1819? So what's that, 31 years to get to 7,000, and then 1 year to almost double it.
But I just love that definite not above 7,000. So they relied on mustering. They relied on people showing up and so they could count them at certain times. So we don't even know what the population is. We don't even really know where people live by the sounds of it, by the reading of that. But there was no more than 7,000 people. Okay, keep that in mind. Have you got that get that population one back up?
These population surveys. The first systematic survey of the population of New South Wales was made in 1795, called a muster. So basically that means everyone had to go somewhere, right, and say, yes, I'm here, count me.
Here I am. Yep.
Here I am, good little citizen.
Yep. They relied on that. It wasn't till much later that they actually had a census. So, wasn't above 7,000 though.
Wasn't above 7,000, I knew that much.
And most of that 7,000 would have been military anyway.
Yeah, and or convicts, right?
Well, not that many convicts, to tell you the truth, Campbell.
If the convicts were there. But by that narrative, like the convicts, you wouldn't think that it would be encouraged for them to, get married and have kids, right? They're slaves, basically. So who's having all these children?
Well, this document that I'm reading from Arago actually states this 7-year transportation, or the gallows. If you were sentenced for the 7 years, then literally you were given the opportunity to, let's just say for argument's sake, which they use as an example too. If you are a watch thief or a jewellery thief, then they will put you into, because they see that you have an interest in that, so they will put you in with someone who is a jeweller or a watchmaker. So most people, no, it's ridiculous. This is what I'm reading.
If you're done for stealing watches, they'll mark you down as a jeweller or a watchmaker.
Yes, under the supervision of someone in that business. If you are fraudulent in business, you can also go into accounting if you can prove that you're a good accountant, because they sort of stated that anyone that does fraudulent stuff obviously has some mathematical brain.
And some skill,
Yeah. So Arago even explains that the people that were sentenced here and got out of England from being executed or here transported for 7 years, they literally had to have a sponsor. So what I'm saying is, you had to have the people here in a situation where they had a home, a business, or something that they could do so they could sponsor a convict, so that then they could have a better chance, so that then they can be given land and their own home once they have proven to be a good citizen.
So this is once they're already here, they get sent out, and then when they're good, they need a sponsor to become a free person.
Yes. And they don't have to half the time do that 7 years transportation either. If they prove to be, worthy of being a good citizen and that they've changed their ways, they will be sponsored. So we need the sponsors to be here, not the convicts.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Because what was here was people in military, captains and generals, surveyors apparently, but most of them too that came over, which we'll find out now, worked the convicts. So they needed someone to sponsor them. Most of the convicts, as I'm reading, were not really penalised. The ones that were reoccurring were then put in chains and re-evaluated, and they would have to do hard labour or whatever else that they required them to do. but it wasn't that many. And even one of your viewers, which thank you very much, I haven't read the whole lot yet, but she was reading something in Hobart in one of the indoctrination centres that the governor there in the early 1800s, because Tasmania, as we know, was first colonised, but the governor there complained. He complained that they sent him 300 convicts and they're all useless. And most of them were children. So what the hell was he meant to do with useless convicts and mainly children? They couldn't do anything.
I think he would build Port Arthur.
Yeah, he said they were all useless and of no good to him. So, and what I, like I said, what I did for Guy with the industrial children of the revolution, literally, it was all child labour, and we had a lot of children here. So,
yeah, we've got the photos, but I mean, how are children built? Because the story is that convicts built all the first buildings, and especially in Tasmania, right? Hobart, they were supposed to have built all these, you know, Port Arthur, all these huge red brick buildings and breweries, and children's hands are too small to pick up bricks, right?
Correct. They can't even make the bricks, Campbell. And then people say to me, yeah, but Paula, they brought the bricks over from England. Well, no, they couldn't have brought them all over from England because we had huge taxes. So what people don't realise that England was going through so much at that stage with so-called wars and returning soldiers and sicknesses and typhoid fever and blah, 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 the list goes on. They had trouble getting their own.
Would have been around Napoleon time, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's 1815, but we just keep continuing because we're now in Australia that also has so-called buildings already built in that stage. And we couldn't be bringing them over from England because England, like I said, was having its own problems. So England taxed their bricks. They had high taxes on their bricks and they had high taxes on their glass for their windows and such. So it's just...
It's the silly story that they say this about everything is they brought them over as ballast in the back of the ship. I mean, that's what they say for Jefferson off the coast of America. 16 million bricks, the biggest red brick construction in North America, and that is the story. And people believe it. Like, I mean, it doesn't take a lot of thinking to think 16 million bricks. I mean, that's what, 100,000 at least boat trips. I mean,
exactly.
Like,
and if you do the history on bricks, even old Wikipedia will tell you that right up until 1865, most bricks were handmade. We weren't up to a manufacturing state of manufacturing huge amounts of bricks. And it wasn't until the Hoffman kiln in Germany was designed and patented and sent to other countries that we were able to manufacture bricks at large volumes. So you just got to do the brick story as we've done.
I know, you've got to think a little bit, you know. Stop believing the narrative and think for yourself, people.
Yes. So anyway, we will read. Hey?
Be autodidactic.
Yes, that's it. Be autodidactic. Exactly. So the population and land use of Sydney district. Just to give you a little idea of the first 30 years of Sydney, Campbell, can you give that a read for us?
Okay, the population and land use in the Sydney district, 1788, which is the date they say Cook turned up on Botany Bay, to 1820. Study of the origins and development of Sydney presents a number of problems which are related to its peculiar character as a convict settlement and to the great distance which separated it from the mother country. It is proposed to outline here some of the problems associated particularly with population distribution and land utilisation during the first 30 years of the colony of New South Wales, and to examine the reason for their existence. No understanding of the progress of events is possible without an appreciation for the serious limitations set by the physical environment more especially by soils and relief. Most of the useful alluvial soil lying along the Nepean Hawkesbury River was more than 30 miles away from the site of the settlement of Sydney Cove. The country between consisted of undulating lowland developed on shale or of youthfully dissected uplands. What? Youthfully dissected uplands, okay. The inhibiting effect of these barren uplands can be seen to this day when they remain as natural national parks, water storage areas, or area of sparse settlement fringing the metropolis. I mean, I've been saying this for years, all this story about, people turned up and they just went wandering around the country, right? Wandering around Australia, and they found the gold and they found the clay and they found the iron ore. I mean, it's such a dumb story because, like they're saying here, the distances are huge. And, we're told the story that there was no roads, right? It was just all bushland. And then put next to that, the fact that there's not that much water, in Australia, and they didn't know where the water was, so they're just wandering out into the, out into the bush, and it just doesn't make sense. It's a silly story. Burke and Wills, right? They just walked through, up through the middle of the desert, and I mean, they ended up dying, they say, but like we get this
he took his piano. He took his piano
on horseback.
They were drunk the night before they left. That's how much of a silly story it is.
Yeah, in Perth, like they say that the miners for Kalgoorlie walked from Perth to Kalgoorlie, and today it's about an 8-hour drive. So I mean, we're talking weeks, and there's no water. Like one of the big things in WA is they built this massive water pipeline to get water out there. I've forgotten the guy's name, but he actually killed himself because they turned it on and the water didn't come out. And then this is the story, right? And he'd built the thing and he didn't realize that it would take time for the water to actually travel down the pipe. Like
gravity, apparently.
Like there's literally a statue of this old miner holding a wheelbarrow in Perth. They all just walked, You couldn't carry enough water in one of those wheelbarrows to get there. And they just repeat this dumb story over and over, and people believe it.
I know.
It does my head in.
Well, we're here to change that, Campbell.
Yes.
We are here to change that. So not only that, if you go into the Chinese, once the gold was discovered, which, you've got God knows how many different stories of when that was discovered in Melbourne, but apparently there were the Chinese were so many that Melbourne stopped the Chinese. Any boat that brought Chinese people into the Port Phillip Bay were fined astronomical amounts of money. That's how bad. That's apparently the story, how many Chinese were coming here. So then the Chinese would then be dropped off at Robe in South Australia and walk to Bendigo.
Yes.
Not knowing the country, Campbell. We don't. Which direction do we go? Oh, I don't know. Oh, where are we going to get our food? I don't know. Where are we going to get water? Oh, maybe we can ask the people that live in Robe how to get to Bendigo or Ballarat or any other place that had gold at the time. So, and then we also dropped them off at Adelaide and we dropped them off in Sydney. To walk all the way from Sydney through the bush, maybe through the Blue Mountains, who knows, to Ballarat.
I mean, we're talking months and months, right? Like literally to walk the distance. Like, I mean, in Australia, our states are bigger than most of the countries in Europe. Like we're talking vast distances and dry. It's not like Europe where it's all green and there's water and rivers everywhere. Like in Australia, not. So it's just, and then they say that the Chinese went and they were up the coast of WA and they discovered the pearling industry and they started the banana industry and they
probably did because they were here.
That's what that would have to be. They would have to at least have maps of the area that know what they were doing and be used to the environment.
Exactly.
I mean, we had the 10-pound poms and stuff and people immigrating to Australia and they'd get out here and like they just couldn't handle the heat because it gets really, really hot out here.
Yes,
So
yes. But they've got all their belongings with them too, Campbell, as they're driving around, walking around. So
I mean,
it's all cover stories, Campbell. It's all cover stories, like when we did the mansion of Potts Point last time. You know, the governor had to make up a story to cover up why all these mansions were already here, because that's what they demanded they built. It's all cover stories, and it's whether we are in that frame of mind to understand that, hey, no, that makes no sense. So sorry. Okay, I'm going to get into this.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so in 1811, we had a Louis Fascinet, who was a French naval officer, who took 125 of his of staff, of cabin crew. His wife Rose, his young wife Rose, who hid as a male or a young man, because no women were allowed on boats at this time, and also to protect her because they were going to uncharted areas. It was a scientific trip, and it took them a long time. Like they came into Sydney in 1819, so that's how long they've been travelling. You can get this actual book. It was called The Narrative of the Voyage Around the World. And if you Google, you can actually get this on a PDF file. There is a lot to read, Campbell. And to get to Australia, you really have to go to part 2 and page 160 when they start to describe coming into the Port Phillip Bay, into Sydney Bay. So Mr. Argo
went around the world, didn't they? That's what they were saying. They ran around, and the same with Cook, right? He apparently sailed all the way around, the edge.
Yes.
Can't remember how long it took him. A very long time. He ended up in Hawaii where he died. I mean, we're talking.
Yep.
The narrative says it's these little tiny dinky boats.
Well, they were in a Corvette. They called their boat Corvette, which I love.
Corvette.
Yeah. But the story, I started reading it all, and some of it's horrific, Campbell. It really is horrific, of some of these islands. Look, names I don't even know because they've obviously changed. But the description of the tribes and the original people in all these areas, and how similar they were in a lot of their ritual stuff. And Argyle's description of the Australia's First Nation people is really not what we've been told. That's really different. And I've got other explorers that also describe the original people, and he talks very similarly. The tribes are all different. They're very different rituals, different cultures. Some were very aggressive, very, very, they were murderous, literally, and especially he describes the ones in Sydney that were actually invited. They were quite at home in the colony, and they were actually some of them were used as entertainment for the wealthy. And they'd give them alcohol, and the alcohol would send them mad. And when they went mad and aggressive, they have to kill someone, and they would kill one of their own. It's some of it's really horrific, Campbell. It really is. It's just horrific. But anyhow, so they came into Sydney in the evening.
Yeah.
Yep, Sydney Harbour in the evening. And I'll just read what I'm going to read to you a little bit is from. This is from the Tartarian Truther Girls. I've done a lot more research myself because I was able to get hold of this book. They weren't able to get hold of it. So they've been reading off a journalist called Luke Slattery, and he wrote for the Financial Review an article which says Sydney's secret past before the Opera House, there was Fort Macquarie. So on this part, he says, on November 18th, this is from the Round the World book from Argo, on November 18th, 1819, an hour before sunset, the French corvette Urane anchored in Neutral Bay, Sydney, with a crew of 125 men and one woman. The captain, Louise Frey, I'm going to say because I can't say the full name, young wife Rose, who had stowed away dressed as a cabin boy. Also on board was the ship's artist and diarist, Jacques Arago, who declared himself enchanted by his first sight of the upside-down New World. As we call it,
yes,
New World. Yeah. As Urani sliced through the heads and sailed up the harbour, he observed magnificent hotels, majestic mansions, houses of extraordinary taste and elegance.
1818.
1819.
1819. So again, what's
And
that? That's 31
31 years.
Yeah.
Since 1788. And this is just a very brief description from this journalist, Luke Slattery. I've actually got more that I found in the actual book, but this is just a basic what he's saying. Soon he was writing home with descriptions of fountains ornamented with sculptures worthy of the chisel of our best European artist. Spacious and airy apartments, rich furniture, horse carriages, one-horse chases of great elegance, and immense storehouses.
Interesting, because that's what I've always wondered. You know, we talk about the clothes. Where do all the clothes come from? I mean, and I've just always thought that they must have found warehouses full of stuff.
Correct. I agree. It's crazy, isn't it? Absolutely crazy.
I mean, it is, you know, I mean, 31 years we're supposed to believe that there was nothing here, you know, Stone Age civilization, that's it.
Yep. That's for savages.
Yep. And they've built roads, they've found the quarries for the rock, they've found lime pits to make cement, they've found iron ore, they've found all these things they need, right? And then they've set up all the manufacturing, right? Because if you find iron ore, that you've still got to turn it into iron, and then you've got to turn that iron into what you want to use it. Same with clay pits, you know, they've got to be put into kilns, which didn't exist. And all of this is supposed to have been happening, and then they get the skilled craftsmen and the transportation to get it in there to build all these. And they start off not with little shacks made of wood, like we're told, but they start off with mansions.
Yes, exactly.
It's just, it's so dumb.
So Mr. Slattery chooses to ignore this whole description, right? And if you go into
the French, yeah.
No, yes, go into that.
The coastal borders.
No, the French description. Just go into that. Oh, hang on. Article from Travel Agent. Do that one.
Cool. Which one's that? Okay.
While you're doing that, so Mr. Slattery totally ignores this whole description. And then in his article, he writes, as for Arago's majestic mansions, there was probably only one of any note, the naval captain John Piper's magnificent Henrietta Villa on a 77 square kilometre of prime harbour front land. Single-storied, Neopalladian pavilion resting on an ornamental lawn cascading down to the rocky shores of Piper's naval villa, as it is called in the painting by convict artist Joseph Lucette.
Okay.
Which I'll go into Mr. Joseph Lucette in a minute.
You see any? Well, I'm not sure because I haven't actually named these, but we'll bring one up and see what it says. So these, which one have we got here? So this is, not sure if this is the right one. This is Sydney, New Holland.
No, that's what we just read
Just
as
read
it's coming
that.
into the coast. You
Okay,
can
the
read
coast
that again if
borders.
you want.
Yeah, okay. The coast that borders the spacious harbour of Port Jackson is a curious spectacle. A novel and vigorous vegetation is there intermixed with small houses, the European architecture of which strikes our eyes and excites our admiration. So these aren't little bark huts, right? We see only the advanced posts of a city and are struck with astonishment. We are scarcely arrived and ask how many ages this colony has existed. So, I mean, that's pretty damning to the story, right? They're literally saying like that there's the buildings are so good that this,
Yep.
Sydney must have been there for ages. And when they say ages, they're talking about, decades, right? Decades or
Yep.
centuries. Not like
Yep.
it took ages like we're saying in Australia, but
Not 31 years, not 31 years at all, Campbell.
no.
So
I
yeah,
mean,
and they even mention Fort Macquarie, saying it was
yeah,
of ancient build,
an
and
ancient
that
village, right?
yes. Now
So
what does
now we
that
have this
say?
one. I will not give you a description of the town which I have just gone through. I am enchanted, and I had rather given my admiration some respite. Magnificent hotels, majestic mansions, houses of extraordinary taste and elegance, fountains ornamented with sculptures, like we see all over the place, right? Sounds like a World's Fair. Worthy the
Yep.
chisel of our best artists, spacious and airy apartments, rich furniture, horses, carriages, one horse chase, the greatest elegance, immense storehouses. Would you expect to find all these 4,000 leagues from Europe? I assure you, my friend, I fancied myself transported into one of our handsomest cities, our most handsome cities. I mean, there you go. It's right there. It's right there.
It's right there. It's right there. Absolutely, it's right there.
That's crazy.
It just astounds me. The whole book astounds me because there's so much in there. I'll read you another excerpt from this book. So while they're in Sydney, they actually go to Liverpool and Parramatta, and they go to a gentleman's home. I'll read you what it says. The coast that borders the spacious harbour of Port Jackson is a curious spectacle, like you've just read. Hang on. You just read that, but this is going to extend it more. The European architecture which strikes our eyes and excites our admiration. We see only the advanced posts of a city and are struck with astonishment. We are scarcely arrived and ask how many ages this colony has existed. And
Oh,
equally, it does.
you're getting a phone call.
Sorry. My phone's
Right.
ringing. The majestic first presents itself to the view of the traveller. At the south entrance of the river rises a magnificent lighthouse, equally solid and elegant in its structure. So that must be the Macquarie Lighthouse.
Yeah.
The light is visible at an entrance. Hang on. The light is visible at a distance, is revolving and shows itself only at equal intervals, that ships may not confound it with fires kindled on the other side and other parts of the mountains, because they see fires as they come through too, as well, from the Aboriginals, obviously, or other settlers. A telegraph is added to this building and corresponds through two intentment posts with that placed on the Governor's Palace at Sydney. So they're sending telegrams. That's what it reads. A telegraph is added to this building and corresponds through two intimate posts with that placed on the Governor's Palace at Sydney.
It's a palace. So we've got a palace, we've got a lighthouse, and we've got a telegraph, which requires cable and cable laying, right?
So, yeah, so a telegraph is added to this building.
Mm.
What is he talking about there? I mean, first he talks about the lighthouse and the magnificent lighthouse in 1819, which the
spins,
lighthouse, Port Macquarie, yes.
like the lights
And
going around. Yeah.
And it's meant to only be oil, a whale oil, apparently, and yet the distances are huge that they're saying here. So how can it be just whale oil?
Oh,
and again, the Tartarian Truther Girls do an amazing stuff on the Macquarie Lighthouse because there's just too much weirdness going on with that building, and the tunnels that go underneath it. And then so he talks about the governor's house being a palace, and yet that journalist that I spoke about earlier, he says that the governor's place was a shambles, wasn't up to standard.
Well,
yet they continue exactly in his article in 2017, and yet Arago constantly talks about how beautiful the governor's palace is in 1819. So, and then they further go on to say, and further on we see country houses of magnificence that remind us of Europe. So it just keeps going, doesn't it?
It does. I know, it's crazy, right? Like, and people will believe some dude from 2017 over reports from people who are actually there in the time. But this is what they do all the time, right? Because most of the population, unfortunately, don't like to think. They want to be told things. So they'll read the article and they'll go, see, yes, you guys are crazy. Look, here's an article from 2017. You know,
it's all Chinese whispers by then, Campbell, because they're not. He literally has not done his homework, because when he talks about this property and says it can be the only one that Arago's talking about, this property has boasted vaulted and domed interior. So it's got vaulted and domed ceilings, like a Byzantine church. It was decorated with rosewood sofas, chandeliers, bronze lamps, and Chinese vases. Once the epicentre of colonial high society, it was demolished in 1850. Now, this place is the place is magnificent, but he only says that's the only mansion that they could possibly have seen. Then it goes on. Then I will read you the next bit. And this is mentioned quite a few times also, Campbell, about, and this will, okay. So he goes on to say, much of the colonial Sydney went the way of Piper Henrietta's villa, in other words, demolished in the early 1800s. Some changes have been for the better, though. The Ballalong Point Governor Macquarie built a complicated non-Gothic fort with a Martello Tower, which is the Fort Macquarie has a Martello Tower, which is 12-foot thick walls, mind you, with a drawbridge.
Yeah, and that got knocked over and demolished to build the Sydney Harbour Bridge. It got turned into a tram station first, didn't it, or something? They reckon, and then
well, it's said that it 1798 something was built there. It wasn't apparently the fort that we see, because that wasn't finished until 1821. Okay, yet Arago saw it in 1819 and described it as an ancient building.
Yeah.
So Arago, that's right, he observed it as a design of ancient style. When he saw it, it was finished, but going by this journalist and by all your other stuff, It wasn't finished till 1821.
Mm.
And then it became the tram depot, and it still looked like a castle
Yeah,
when it was a
totally.
tram depot, because apparently
Yeah.
the fort was demolished in 1901, and then they rebuilt in 1902 a tram depot in respect to the ancient fort to look like the bloody fort. Then it became the Sydney Harbour Bridge.
That's what you do, right? When you're building a tram depot, you make it look like a fort. But
Exactly.
and Fort Macquarie was literally a castle, like had the big round, turret sort of towers on it, like everything.
Yeah.
Right on the
Have you
shore.
got a picture of it?
Ooh.
I did send you pictures of it, Dale.
Oh, you
Have a look
did?
at, more photos of Fort. Have a look at that.
Oh, okay, more photos of Fort. Okay. But yeah, I've done a couple of videos on Fort Macquarie because
It's a weird one, isn't it? And for Denison, I mean, when I did that stuff for Guy too, that was there. It was the bloody, they were putting convicts there in 1788. It was already there. How can that be? There's nothing here, remember?
1788. That's literally the year that they landed.
Yes. Yep.
Like,
Yep. When I looked into that, they were putting prisoners on that island because all they had was food and water, and the fort was there. Anyhow, I digress.
That's Government House Stables. That's right. That's that other castle that he built for his horses.
We're getting to that one. Just if you can click
into that one. So
we're getting to that.
I'm all mixed up.
Just see if we can bring
but I mean, there were castles everywhere, right? Even Government House in Sydney is a castle. So that's a tram depot. Sorry, we're getting there.
Yep.
So what have we got here? Window. I guess it's this one, is it?
We have to work out a better way of doing these photos, I think, Campbell. I don't know how I'm going to do it. And there we go. Can you zoom in there? That's an old photo. Have a look at that. Have a look at that fort.
Yeah, look at these towers, massive walls, and all around it, because it sort of juts out into the river a bit, and all these walls are man-made.
Correct.
Like its shoreline is man-made. And it's interesting because I've looked at these a lot. Like they always cut the photos here. Have you noticed that? So you can only see the fort. You can't actually see what's, behind. As far as the tram depot that they apparently built, I'm pretty sure it was already there.
Mm-hmm. Show the tram building now, a year later.
So, yeah, they knocked that over and they built a tram station, right? And not to mention the fact that they've got trams.
Yeah.
In 1901, we've got the whole infrastructure. But yeah, it's a castle. Look at this bit coming off the tower here. Like, what purpose?
A year after they demolished the fort.
Yeah.
They come up with that.
And what, I guess it was built in a year, was it?
Yeah, in a year.
In a year. Yeah. But it's just the same architecture, right, as the fort. It's
exactly the same.
It's what we're told are castles, but I'm sure that, that then castles aren't what we're told. They're not for kings and queens to sit there and, rule from.
No.
It's just a type of architecture.
Correct.
And this is where it is, sitting out here on this little jutting point. And now Sydney Harbour Bridge, or no, it's Dawes Point, isn't it, that it's on?
Yeah.
Sydney Harbour Bridge goes this way, yeah.
And it's where the Sydney Opera House is now.
That's, this one down here, Sydney Opera House, and then Harbour Bridge. So they knocked them both down and built over the top of them.
Yep.
And then down here,
Potts Point, we were
looking at last time with the mansions.
Yes.
So basically this whole area all built out with old world buildings.
Correct.
Like, it's, wow.
So then we go into the journalist again, who really wants to push the point, totally ignoring the French diarist, what he was saying and what they first saw. But he's really pushing the point about, Greenway. Francis Greenway, the founding father of Australian architecture. And his whole article was really based on trying to find all the remnants of this famous architect who was another friggin' fraudulent convict.
Yes. With no training.
He was meant to be hung. He was meant to be hung in England. He was ready for the gallows because of what he did to the business and how he stole. I don't know what he stole, money, or whether he did fraudulent stuff with the business. Got no idea. But he was meant to have done some architecture in Bristol, and all I could find, I couldn't find anything that he did. All I could find was these pillars that were added onto a men's club because he's a mason. And yes, and then he comes over. He misses the gallows. He comes over for his 7-year transportation, and he's discovered that he's got some architectural, he's an architect skill. So the governor says to him, "Okay, well, we'll watch you build." I think, it was the lighthouse. So Greenway came in 1813 and he was supervised to build the lighthouse in 1814. And then thereon he was just going guns a-blazing, building all these places, which were very matched, I must say, Campbell. They weren't really very. There was no actual, it didn't flow. There was no, it didn't have no, some of them apparently, like they'd have some sort of main thing that they built. So this man says, returning to Sydney, I sought out some of the surviving Greenway buildings of our founding father of Australian architecture, who sits on our $10 note.
Yes, he does. Yes.
And the convict, Mr. Greenway, surviving buildings of Hyde Park, barracks for the male convicts, Sir James Church, Lighthouse, the Prospect Tower at the South Head, the obelisk of Macquarie Place, Parramatta Female Factory, the neo-Gothic horse stable that now houses the Sydney Conservatorium of Music, which is the picture you just brought up, if you could bring that one up, Campbell.
But yeah, I mean, literally it's some of the biggest buildings in Sydney that they attribute to him. And like you said, there's no like style, right? Architectural style that runs through.
That's the word, style. So here we go. So this journalist says the penal colony at the end of the earth was little more than 3 decades old when the Cascalated stables were opened in 1821. Remember that date, 1821, putting the old haphazardly built government house at the end of Bridge Street to shame. That was the journalist in 2017 who wrote that. So he's saying the haphazardous building of Government House, and yet Arago in 1819 said it was a palace.
I mean, and look at this photo. We've got this castle, but what have we got here?
I know.
A little wooden shack, right, put up against the wall. That's what they can build.
Dunny, Campbell.
Yeah, like they can build this little shack. They can build this, picket fence made out of wood, and they want us to believe that they were building this.
Exactly.
It's just so dumb.
It is so dumb. It's beyond a joke. It's that dumb. So remember that day, 1821. So when was Arago here? 1819. Let me read you this.
So these are just more of Francis Greenway's constructions. Here's the lighthouse. Like we've got churches and steep. Like they're just so mismatched.
Yes.
Yeah, like churches, and it's just, and this is what they do. Like we've seen this so many times, right? They have a competition to design a building,
Yes.
and someone with no experience designs it, wins it, and then after that they build like 20 buildings, the best buildings ever in like 10 years. Like we've heard this story so many times.
Well, you know what he was accredited for, which is all I could find again in Britain, was these columns that was an extension on an already built building there way before way after, sorry, he was sent here. So again, the dates didn't match. So anyway, we go back to the phrase, and remember that these stables, by the journalist and also by our hysterical historians, say that it was built and finished in 1821. The Freys, for their part, were confused by the scene that greeted them as they sailed up the harbour. At first, they mistook the horse stables. At first, they mistook the horse stables' mass of octagonal towers and battlements home to 24 mares and a number of stallions for the governor's residence. In her journals of 1819, Rose Froissart commented on the strangeness of the building. It looks like an old fortress with towers and battlements and so on, she reflects, and no one could tell us what they had in mind when they built it.
Because they didn't build
1819,
it.
that was written.
Yeah,
What they had in mind when they built it.
Yeah, and if anyone's wondering why this dude in 2017 wrote this article and it was pushed out, well, just look into Reuters, Reuters. Look into that and see who owns the media. I mean, we all should know by now that the media is completely owned, operated, and it's just a propaganda machine to get the public to say, oh, look, I saw it in print, so it must be true.
But he still quotes what these people said in 1819 and then still wants to debunk what they actually saw in 2017. I mean, if they're not gatekeepers, what are?
Exactly.
And now
100 years after, or 200 years after. Is that right? Yeah. And he thinks he thinks he knows what's going on. It's yeah.
And now if we look at the modern day building of that so-called stables, which is now the Sydney Conservatorium of Music, which is absolutely magnificent inside with its own organ.
Ah, really?
Pretty friggin' fancy horse stables once upon a time.
Yeah, without asking the questions, who built it and where did all the materials come from, right?
Exactly. 1819 people.
Yeah, it's so dumb.
I can't say any more than that. I really can't. I mean, people see what they want to see, Campbell, and hopefully the people that are here see it. And look, I'm always open for arguments, not arguments, but opinions. But at the end of the day, we're trying to state the obvious here, and the obvious is telling us that things just don't add up.
Yeah. So here it is today. Go. This is the stable, guys. The stables, right? And now
the Sydney Conservatorium of Music.
Yeah. And I mean, you can even see like other old world, what's that, a fountain or something over here, all the garden. I mean, it's just textbook for what we see everywhere, right? It's crazy. Here we go. The inside. Oh, there's the organ. So this is inside the conservatorium. Look at this organ. So this stuff was clearly already there.
Clearly, and the roof. There's insides of the roof. It's. I get frustrated, Campbell. I do.
I know. It's I know. Lots of I don't know. Hopefully they're bots, but there's always some people out there trying to say, "Oh no, it was written in an article, so you've got to believe that. But I mean, opening your eyes and looking and questioning it, none of it makes sense at all. I mean, this thing isn't even level. Look at this. It's
No,
lower at this end than it is at this end.
exactly. And it's huge. Why would you do that?
Yeah, silliness. Silliness.
And you know what? Campbell? Greenway and Lucet, the famous convict artist, who also came over as a fraud for fraud and was also meant to be hung. They came on the same ship together. I've got the ship documents. They came together, but he did paint windmills and things, so he didn't rub them out.
Nice.
He's got a lovely painting of windmills of Sydney in 1818. There were windmills everywhere.
I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? You know, we have this story of convicts, but when you think about it, like to get this story in and to whitewash everything, they needed forgers. They needed people who could go out there and do all this crap for them, right? All this illegal stuff, you know, to get through. So were they really convicts, or was it just people, you know, they just bring out people they needed to get the story right, you know, their narrative right. And
also we're not talking. Sorry.
So I was just going to say that they're building these buildings and then knocking them over, like in the mid-1800s.
In 1850.
That's so dumb.
Oh, there's so much to see in that. Yes, so also too, I want to address the forger or fraudulent. We do know blacksmiths are forgers as well and have forgers for blacksmiths, but we're not talking about that type of forge. We're talking about forgery, as in fraud. Oh my God,
yeah, like forging, like doctoring, right? Changing things. Basically. Yeah.
So that's our Sydney Conservatorium of Music, Campbell, which was, you know, they were just stables. So I'm going now.
Oh, you've got some here of it too. So I didn't see that.
I'm going to read you some more. Sorry.
You go, yeah. I'll just go through the pics as you're talking.
Yeah, I'm going to. Yeah, there you go.
Stables.
Okay. So I'm going to see if I can find some more extracts from this. Okay. So in one of the letters that Argo writes to his friend Bassat, because they're all just letters that he writes to his friend Bassat back in France. And he ends up publishing them all because people want to read. It was such a huge thing that they did, and they saw so much that he was asked to publish the book, and that was around about 1822, and then it was translated in English in 1823. So some of this he writes in this is another part that he's written to his friend. A traveller returned from New Holland is often asked in Europe, what has he seen at Botany Bay? And he will answer, a magnificent harbour, a small manufactory of bad cloth, some curious plants, reptiles, and 5 or 6 transported malefactors. What, adds the inquirer, is that settlement which flowery narratives describe in such glowing colours, that handsome, large and populous town in which we find stately mansions, superb hotels, rich clothing and rich furniture, and gallery slaves, all so fabulous? No, sir, it is all true what you say. All exists. Not indeed at Botany Bay, but at Sydney Cove, which is 10 miles distance from it, except for public baths, the druggist, you will find in the later town all the accommodation that we all enjoy in Europe and all the conditions of life that exist in our very own country.
So basically saying it's a built-out city. It's a complete built-out city, right, with all the luxuries, you know, including like
Europe,
organs and carpets and
sorry,
chandeliers and Chinese ceramics.
it's mind-blowing. And he's not the only one that talks about it, and I will hopefully in the next few series I will discuss that. Because there's other explorers that talk about it. And isn't it just ironic that the Garden Palace in Sydney, when we had the exhibition buildings there, burnt down and all the Aboriginal artefacts were destroyed? And you know what, which I didn't know, I read that just recently, a lot of artefacts were destroyed, which I know about, but a lot of convict records were destroyed,
Yeah.
Campbell.
Yeah, but I heard it was basically they kept all the records of the colony up until that date there, and they all burnt.
Yeah, they all got burnt.
When they burnt down their solid brick and iron building because it burns so well.
Like, it's unreal, isn't it?
Yeah, well, they love their fire, right? They love to, you know, raise things to the ground like this. It's such a common theme. They do it to whole cities, right? And they, you know,
exactly,
always the fire, and they just erase the history, and then they can rewrite it.
Yep. Of course they can rewrite it. I'm just looking now for another excerpt, which, you know, I mean, you're having trouble finding stuff that I've sent you. Okay, here we go. These are all, I'm going to read you more excerpts from this narrative. Okay. So Mr. Argo goes to a property of John Jamieson, and this is in some of his travels. And he also ends up at Mr. Oxley's property, John Oxley, who also did exhibitions for Mr. Macquarie. And that estate is very interesting. That's Kirkham Estate. But this one will be John James Estate. So on the other side of the river, he's just rolled up there to stay. On the other side of the river, still opposite the estate of Mr. Jamieson, is the plain of Ivorans, a plain as fine and level as that on the right bank, stretching only 3 or 4 miles to the south, but infinite distance north. This plain borders on the west by the first range of the Blue Mountains, which forms an amphitheatre highly magnificent, intersected by several little rivulets, which are formed in all the equalities of the mountains, and in which there are already, listen to this, in which there are already establishments belonging to government.
All belongs to government.
Establishment.
Yeah, the Blue Mountains also has aqueducts in it. You know, I mean, aqueducts that there should not be any trace of aqueducts in Australia anywhere if we're going by their narrative, right? But they exist, right?
Yep. The Blue Mountains is an amazing one that has a lot of questions. So we've got an amphitheatre, which forms an amphitheatre, highly magnificent. We have already establishments belonging to government, which pledges of the future prosperity of settlement, but has not yet been cleared.
Interesting. So they found and that's why the Blue Mountains still has a lot of stuff, right? Because it's pretty rough terrain. They haven't cleared because there's actually stuff all through it, but they haven't cleared around the stuff. They found it. And of course, what does government mean?
Cleared it yet.
You know, mind control. I think there could be a link between that and the fact that they're mind controlling us with the narrative, right?
Yep.
You know, they did it all. It's fantastic.
It's unreal, isn't it? I just get blown away with the things that I'm finding, Campbell. Like I keep saying, it's definitely guidance. And I mean, it's, like he's even stating here that fires and axes have already begun, digging has already begun to extend the surface. For what? More buildings?
Yeah.
So that's one. Okay.
Yeah, we've said it before, but that, Australia was found. The cities were here. All the stuff was here. All they did was renovate them, right? Renovate them. Renovate means to change the contract. So basically, they stole them, is what they're saying. The government owned everything. Those schmeeshmations, as the girls would call them, got their free masonry, like stole all the buildings and gave it to each other and the government. And then just fabricated this story that we built it all while they were going through and demolishing of much of the old world as they could.
Yep. Anything that gave them evidence when in this time when we're questioning. But like I said, they were already questioning their narrative in the late 1800s anyway, and which is I'm going to go through as well with you with the book. They were already questioning so much because it just, like this guy, he just can't believe what he's seen. None of them can see what they've seen. And the Rose even asks why a stable looks like towers, a fort. Why? What was in their heads?
Yeah.
And we still use it. We still use it today.
Yeah. Like they thought because, the stables were so grand that they thought that was the governor's residence.
Yes.
But
and yet
no,
the governor's sleeping. Exactly. But the governor also has a palace. They keep saying it over and over. His palace. And yet the journalist of 2017 keeps saying it was a shambles. It was, embarrassing where he lived. Piss off. What the hell? It's just crazy stuff. So I'm just thinking too, Campbell, how did these so-called stables have such acoustic value that they now have to have that to be the conservatorium of music? What is it built? So it's got the sound that they have their music in there.
It's a good point, right?
Like, stable, you wouldn't have that. You wouldn't have that set up for, beautiful sounds and resonance or anything like that, because it's just for your 24 horses and a few stallions.
And this is government house.
We don't need acoustics there. We don't need acoustics there.
No, of course not. This is government house.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a palace.
It's a palace. It's a castle. It's even got like the cathedral windows right here, and it's just, that's what they build for the governors to live in. Apparently, it's like it's it's frustrating, isn't it?
Yes,
people still argue these points with me, or like in all the comments, there's always a couple. Like someone even said. I did a mudflood thing, and someone commented and said something, but it just didn't make sense. So, but they basically said, of course they were putting doors and windows in walls under the ground, and I'm like, are you serious?
Why?
What? People just they love to be told stuff. They just love to not think for themselves. They love, and then they can go, look, it's here in print. I mean,
yes, in 2017.
Yeah, it doesn't equal the truth, man, just because. And then these same people will jump up and down and say, the government's lying to us, they're controlling us, the government are evil. But look, they wrote this, and so that's why that's my proof. I know, it's very annoying.
It's annoying for all of us, and most of your viewers, it's very annoying too, I tell you, because a lot of your viewers are amazing.
The majority are awesome. They're onto it, and this is the thing. These days, we don't even know if these comments are bots or not. We know that there's bots.
Exactly. To stir up.
Yeah. Try and, sway your opinion
Yep. Like I always say, Campbell, we wake up every day and we decide whether we want to be in this 3D existence or we want to be in a more high frequency existence. And those people are just there to add to our 3D. If we want to get into it and fight and argue about it, well, then we're back in the 3D. They've pulled us in, haven't they? It's up to us to keep above that and not be pulled in, because we're tested every second of the day.
Totally.
We've just got to be aware of it.
Yeah.
And that's why they're there, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, now let me read.
What do they
Let me
say?
read
Don't
this one.
argue with a fool. Don't argue with a fool, because what is it? Drag you down to their level and then beat you with experience. Because they know how to be a fool. Don't let them turn you into one.
So we've got Mr. Oxley Campbell, who takes Argo to his property. And may I also say that Mr. Argo is going from Parramatta, which he says is just beautiful, Liverpool, which I'll read to you a little bit about Liverpool as well, because some of the people that he was travelling with were on their way to Bathurst. And Bathurst is the oldest rural town in Australia. It was first invaded, may I say, in 1815, or maybe even earlier, and was named after a warmonger, Mr. Bathurst, because he was in the military and in the wars, and they named it after him because we had massive wars there. The First Nations people were not going to be taken. But, you know, if you go to Bathurst and have a look at the buildings in Bathurst, they are amazing. And so is the narrative. So in 1819, they were busy going to Bathurst. So anyway,
I mean, that's a long way from Sydney. There was a bit in a video I did recently. I mentioned Bathurst, and I said, "Oh, that's so far out. It's out near the desert." And someone lost their crap at me. It's not in the desert. How dare you say that? And I'm like, man. Like, for number one, why are you hyper focusing on stupid crap? And two,
well, that's it.
How did they get there? How did they get from Sydney to Bathurst? No roads, no nothing. And then what? You believe they built the buildings too? So what? They're carting bricks and cement and it? I mean, come on.
Yeah. Well, this Argyle doesn't even complain about the roads or anything really. So it must be quite, because he says the roads are level, and you know there's only some bits that probably could use a few bridges, but apart from that, he doesn't even complain about the trip, and he's doing a decent trip at the moment. He's in Camden, which is the Kirkham estate of Mr. Oxley. Mr. Oxley also did a lot of explorations, especially around the Blue Mountains, and he also was determined to find the inland lake and follow rivers with boats.
Mm-hmm.
So he did the expedition.
Stories about that, isn't there? People, well, Burke and Will's looking for that as well. I can't remember.
I don't know.
Stories of people looking for the inland sea, and we've got maps.
Well, they talk about it. Yeah, he talks about it in this paper, in this book. Constantly being said about this inland lake that everyone is looking for. And Oxley actually took an exhibition with boats, and they travelled along certain rivers to find the inland lake, and they got into trouble, but they found some amazing things. So he ends up going to this to Mr. Oxley's property, and I think it's like another thousands of acres. He says, "What an astonishing spectacle. Instead of those eucalypti that burn this wild land from space to space, the plants of Europe enrich and embellish the soil. The peach already displayed branches loaded with young fruit. The vine is long festooned, crept from tree to tree, and brought its refreshing grapes even into the master's house. The strawberries, larger and sweeter than anything in our climates, were all here." Let me have a look. But on quitting, hang on, sorry.
You're right. I mean, we've talked about this before about the grapevines and stuff, and
yep,
out near Bathurst. I mean, they clearly have been there for a long time, right? because all these things
Yes,
need to get established. It takes a while for a long years and years for a grape to have sweet tasting grapes, right? They got to mature before they start putting out the good grapes.
absolutely. But then he says, but on quitting these smiling orchards, we transverse with admiration of the spacious fields of European corn.
Spacious and field, right? Like, so they've got
Field,
the bush is clear. Who cleared the bush?
exactly. At the side of these rich cornfields are built substantial barns. I don't understand this bit. Capable of resisting the fury of the waters of the Kirkham. So the Kirkham was known to flood this property. The Kirkham River was known to flood these properties really badly. And obviously these barns were built high enough and substantial enough so that they weren't affected by the fury of the waters of the Kirkham River. And the Kirkham River apparently left a slime over the soil, which made it very, very rich.
Fertile. Yeah, right. Sounds like Egypt and the Nile, and like we've had before, right?
Yep. And it says that the possessions of Mr. Oxley were already very large, including his ornate home.
This is out near Bathurst.
Well, this is in Curran, Cumban. Cumban?
I don't know what that is, but basically it's a long
the
way.
names are all different, but he's talking about Bathurst, he's talking about Liverpool, he's talking about Parramatta. So he's all in these areas.
Which on horse and cart with no roads would be at least weeks travel, if not months, right?
Absolutely. But he's going there without a problem. He doesn't seem to be complaining about any of the travelling, except when he sees some of the some of the Indigenous people, which the stories he tells there are a bloody scream. They're so funny because, he actually engages with the Indigenous people, and he loves engaging with them, and he has amazing stories about them. So anyway, the town of Liverpool, as he sees it. The town of Liverpool at present consists of about 30 houses standing together on the high road, a fine hospital on the banks of the King George River, about 15 scattered buildings at a little distance from this, and a large church already of tolerable ornament, which means he didn't really like, when he first came in, he didn't like how ornate a lot of the properties were, the mansions. He said they were overdone. But he says it's tolerable for this church. In the space that separates the hospital from the road is a sort of a prison in which the malefactors of the district are exposed to public view, being fastened by the feet. Opposite to this is the Court of Justice, and as sentence is passed, there is without appeal, the culprit has but a few steps to take before he undergoes his punishment. Petty offences only are within the jurisdiction of this court. The greater criminals are sent to Sydney. I have seen 5 causes tried here in half an hour, but then there are no counsellors. After visiting the hospital, in which we found 27 patients, most of them were bitten by snakes. He goes on and on about the snakes, Campbell. There's snakes everywhere. And snakes they're 9 foot long. The one he particularly talks about is 9 foot long, black, with bright yellow on its back and black diamonds. And they're highly venomous, and they attack all the time. And there's already 27 prisoners or patients that have been bitten by this snake.
Wow.
He talks about this black snake all the time because the Aboriginals love them. They eat them.
Is that like a diamond back? Is that, I don't know. But I
I
mean, they're
don't
not
know
all
about
9
that.
foot. Well, these days they're not 9 foot. The ones that we say, at least. I mean, maybe a king brown might get that big. I mean, it's pretty
He
big
talks
snake.
about 9-foot black snakes with yellow back and black diamonds. He talks about black swans everywhere,
Oh,
everywhere
really?
in all the lakes. Yes, black swans.
Well, that's interesting because now that we're told that they are native to just Perth, right, Western Australia. That's why it's called the Swan River, the river that
No,
goes
he
through
talks
Perth.
about
Because when they got there, it was covered in black swans. Because it also used to be a freshwater river, the Swan River. There was a natural limestone wall that's blocked it from the ocean, and then of course they knocked that down to make a port, and all the swans had to leave. Right, it's no longer fresh water, so black swans in the east coast. That's very interesting.
Yep. He talks about the black swans, the beauty of the black swans. Yep. So they talk about the black snakes. We were invited to a handsome breakfast at the principal surgeon's, a man of considerable merit who occupied us to the handsome country house of Mr. Oxley.
So just trying to work out what was going on. Were these surgeons and that already here?
We've already got a hospital.
They've got all their stuff, right? So are we talking slow invasion where they sort of came in and they're like, yeah, we're your friends, we're just checking out, we'll come to your hospital. And slowly, they've just changed the narrative. I mean, trying, 5 people in half an hour, that's basically a judge just going guilty, guilty.
Guilty, guilty, guilty.
Good way to get rid of any native population, right?
Correct. And also, too, what a different, again, we've got convicts that become architects and become governors and become lieutenants and become explorers and become, painters. And yet now we've got convicts that are standing in the middle of the street with chains around their feet.
I know there's a much bigger story there. I've often thought that the takeover was a paper takeover. Basically, they've just brought their law right and they just start imposing it and rewriting everything. And if you don't go along with it, well, they just chuck you in the jails or they hang you or whatever they do, right? And slowly, they wipe out the dissenters, right? And everyone else who's there is too scared because they see what happens.
They conform. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. It's funny you say that because even where Fort Macquarie was, there was a fort there before apparently Greenway made it bigger and better. And that was taken over without a treaty. There was a building there for the Aboriginal chief of that area.
Well, this is the other thing is, we're told that the Indigenous were Stone Age, basically, right? Had nothing, spears and boomerangs, and they just walked around and didn't have any, they were nomadic and all this kind of stuff. But, we've showed a few pictures lately where it looks like Indigenous people dressed up, to the nines, right? In the latest fashion and the big dresses and all this stuff. And then you add into that the stolen generation. They've just, we don't know how advanced they were. But I think it's clear that they were much more advanced than we're told, right?
I think some were, Campbell, because he does describe very savage Indigenous people that are very lost. They're very lost. He goes on about how they've got no clothing and that it's just not acceptable for women and children to see them that way because they were integrating in Sydney. As I said, they were used as they were given alcohol, so they made spectacles of themselves, and they were entertainment. But a lot of them lost since the settlement. He does describe them being absolutely starving because they've taken everything from them. They've taken their food. They can't hunt anymore. They can't do anything. They're starving. They're looking for food. They're willing to accept whatever the settlers or the colony wants them to do. His description of the Sydney is different. He also, now again, we'll go back to the inland sea. They talk about the inland sea or the inland lake, and they talk about the tribes that live on the inland lake are different to the tribes that live in Sydney, as opposed to the tribes that live in Tasmania, which other people I've been reading say also.
Mm.
And this
Well,
brings me to my point that
the
also
Tasmanian ones had dreadlocks, they say, so they had a completely different type of hair.
they were African. They were
Mm.
African of look. They had wide noses, broad, very broad foreheads. They had tight, frizzy hair. They were much broader in every respect, and they were very, very, very friendly. They were not war orientated.
No.
So they were totally different. That's why they could wipe them out as quickly as what they did. And I've got an explorer that talks about that too. But Argyle talks about, and I found this I spoke to you about this, very interesting, because he does talk about the different tribes and how they integrated or communicated with the settlers. Some of them spoke good English. But he talks about the Hawkesbury River, and he talks about, I still can't work out this bit with the Hawkesbury River, because apparently they explore this Hawkesbury River and it has like waves or something. It has like a tidal thing going on where it gets quite treacherous to go on. And he talked, I don't understand it. I've got to find it again and then I'll send it to you. It just doesn't make, it talks about it being a tidal river.
So that means it's got to be connected to an ocean.
Exactly.
So
I don't know enough about it. I don't know enough about it, so maybe it is.
Well, the maps I've seen showing the inland, sea is it's connected through the top of Australia. It's literally just the ocean, right? And so that would, if it's connected to rivers, it would have tidal surges.
Yeah. Well, they talk about. It does talk about the size of the wave. It talks about can be treacherous at times, but when they can go in there when it's calm. There is a forest tribe that live on the Hawkesbury River, and I will read this. Now, Colonel Name gave the name of Harrington. It is also in this excursion that they had an opportunity for the first time of communicating with the B-Dix Gal, B-E-DIX-GAL, a singular people who live in the forest adjoining the River Hawkesbury, are different from the natives of Port Jackson and those of Botany Bay. In manners, language, way of living, and particularly by an extremely remarkable characteristic of their physical structure. All the individuals of this race having the arms and thighs of a immoderate length. Now, when I looked up immoderate, it means large, like huge in length in proportion to the rest of the body. So I'll read that again. All individuals of this race having the arms and thighs of an immoderate length in proportion to the rest of their body. So as I understand it, the arms are huge and the thighs are huge, because if you look up immoderate, it means
large,
big.
Oversized, yeah. I mean,
oversized, correct.
That's weird, isn't it? I mean, because it's not saying they were giants. It's just saying their limbs were giant, but their bodies and heads were still small.
Yes. You know what I think of when they say that? I just think about the people with the head in their chest. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I can't remember the name at the moment, but yeah, those guys.
The Bingals or something, whatever they're called. Are they called Bingals or something? I can't remember.
Yeah,
so,
I can't remember that. And
now that other explorers have also mentioned Aboriginals to be over 8 foot tall. And some lived on the coastlines of South Australia, and some lived on the inland lake. And apparently they were very aggressive, as you would be.
Well, especially if you're being invaded.
Yeah.
What are they called? Sorry, I'm just looking up these. Blemmies.
Lemmy, yes. But they didn't say anything about the head. They just said the arms were out of proportion.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, there's a lot of cryptids and weird sort of beings around in the, well, we don't know, right? Back in the past. So, I mean, who knows? Who knows what was going on here? Not what we've been told, that's for sure.
Exactly.
Forests. Were there forests around the Hawkesbury? I mean, that's, again,
Yeah.
that's pretty far out, right? That's pretty deserty, like pretty sparse kind of.
I don't know. I've been to the Hawkesbury. There's different parts of the Hawk. Some of it's beautiful.
Some of it's foresty. Okay, I haven't been out there. But.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful. It's just the descriptions of that are really strange. But even this Kirkham estate, Campbell, I don't know if you can see it in what I sent you, but I've got Kirkham estate 1819 and then / Camelot. Are you able to find that?
Kirkham. Did you send this one today, or is this from last time?
No, today.
Okay. And is it a picture?
Yep, 2 pictures.
I think is this it? Is it a big old house?
Yes, it's got Kirkham Cottage, residence of John Oxley, as it was in 1882, prior to being demolished.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm tipping this is what Argyle saw. This is where he stayed.
This Kirkham Cottage, residence of John Oxley, as it was in 1882.
So in 1819, that's the property that Argyle talks about.
Yeah, well, they're pretty large houses. You can see this one's got windows in the roof, so it's clearly 2-story. This one's 2-story.
Yep, the one in the back.
Yeah, there's 4 houses there. And I did have another image. I don't know if it's the right one.
That's what. So that was demolished, and then they put Camelot House there, which is some race-going person that brought the property.
Yeah, right. I've got this one, Kirkham Metum Ted.
No, that's the stables. They're the stables that were there.
Jeez,
they were the first stables.
2-story too, by the way.
Yeah.
2-story stables. I mean, yeah, man, we loved our stables.
They were built. That was built in 1815, way before Mr. Argo got there.
1815, way out there.
The oldest stables in the world, in Australia, sorry. So how does that work?
Oldest? Doesn't. It doesn't.
There's some more. There's an original photo of the stable. Hopefully you've got it.
Don't know what this house is, but that's pretty cool.
Oh, that's Camelot. That's Camelot. They demolished the original that we just saw, not the stables, but the other houses, and they built Camelot. So they demolished the Oxley's stuff in 1880 and they built this. The new owner built this.
Yeah.
And he's apparently, again, the racehorses, Campbell, it's all got to do with Randwick, which is another dive for anybody who wants to go down that one.
Randwick and the horse racing, yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's crazy, right? So I'm just looking at these pictures. My computer's, that's the stables again.
Yeah, there's a very old picture of the stables.
Yeah. I've got the Macquarie Palace Place obelisk. Okay. 1821. That's something completely different, but that's an interesting picture. I'll just show it quickly. This is supposedly Sydney, right? 1821.
Oh, yeah, that's, yes.
Got
Yep.
massive, what's that, 3-4 story buildings here, over here, big, all with their
Yep.
own like immaculate gardens and a big obelisk down here. And there's even a few
Yep.
horses running around, I guess. Is that Randwick?
Well, that'd be Macquarie's obelisk. That Greenway was supposed to, another one of his, green,
Big
whatever.
building. And look at this
Yeah,
big,
building.
is that a wall or a road? Actually, not sure, but I mean, 1820, which should not have been. Yeah, it is a wall, isn't it? That goes up there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, look at all the windmills.
Yep. Windmills, right? And then this is another thing, right? We're taught that windmills are Dutch. And they do this all the time.
Everywhere.
Yeah, they were everywhere.
Queensland had them. Canberra.
Yeah, there's one in Perth that's supposed to have been there since early 1800s.
Yep.
So,
yeah, Moreton Bay also had, the first painting of Moreton Bay had windmills.
Yeah, it's just, yeah.
But they ignore it. When they describe it, they ignore it like it's not there. That's what I love. Can you not see the obvious there when you're describing that painting? Oh, no, blinkers, sorry, blinkers. What? We don't see a windmill?
Yeah. No, because windmills, clearly they didn't exist. So how could it be there?
Exactly.
Come on.
We didn't commission that painter. We didn't commission that one to get rid of that, wipe it out.
It's dumb. And here's a picture. So this is when we were talking about the French boat coming in. This is what they saw.
Yep.
Right? This is the governor's castle.
Palace.
Right? Palace. And this is that's Fort Macquarie. So I'm guessing.
Correct.
Can't quite see the sails, but basically, yeah, they've sailed in and seen this, right? Just mansions and castles and stuff.
Yep. Exactly.
In the 1819. This picture's from 1846. And even,
so they say.
That's what they say, but even that's a pretty early date to have castles in Australia.
Yep.
I mean,
yes.
Like there's castles everywhere. Like in Perth, there's a street, St. George's Terrace, I think it is. No, maybe Barrack Street. And you can walk down the street and it's literally like there's like 5 or 6 castles just on that street. And it leads up to Barracks Arch, which the only thing that's left of this big star fort that was up there. And of course they knocked it over to build a freeway. There's always it's so crazy.
But you got to, like, the thing is, it's all fine. I mean, you're reading that and you think it's crazy, yet someone thinks it's real. And yet go back and try and, like I've done with the finding that journal or that diary, it's there for everyone to read. And it contradicts so much of what we're told. And like I said, there's other explorers that contradict also.
Yeah, most people are lazy. Like I said, they love to be told things rather than think for themselves. Right? So
yeah, but that's our society now.
It is, unfortunately, and so get off ChatGTP, people. It's lying to you. You haven't worked that one out. It's just the latest propaganda troll, man. Some of the videos I've seen about that, people sit there and they ask good questions. Where did humans come from, ChatGTP? Tell me. And
of course it's going to tell you what you need to hear.
Of course, it's just an algorithm, man. It's just hooked into the websites that they want it to, spruik to you, right? It's just the latest propaganda tool, and people are flocking to it.
I know, but that's what they want. They want everyone to be reliant on that so that they become their new mates and people like us become obsolete because they don't want us connected to humans anymore.
No, and it's so controllable, right? They can just completely control the narrative with ChatGPT, and once everything's online, they can just delete quite easily all the stuff they don't want there. So even if there are books out there, people aren't going to go looking for them. They're going to type in a question and go, oh, that's the truth because the screen told me so. The magic mirror in front of.
Don't you love, I asked this question, I was talking to someone the other day about this. it's probably you, or I can't remember. But don't you love the way the voices have changed on these robotic things, this AI? Because not that long ago, I'd be trying to watch something on YouTube and something would come up and this really robotic voice would come with no feeling, no emotion, no nothing. And I'd go, oh my God, I can't stand that voice. So I just turn it off. Now we've got people asking chat a question, a big philosophical question, and it talks back to you with emotion and understanding, and it stops when it's meant to stop, and it talks very, it's very engaging, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah. It's like
human.
talking to a friend, and now they're
Yeah,
advertising these different chatbots, and they're literally advertising them like, this is your new best friend. Go and get a friend. Get
yeah,
ChatGTP. And like if you want a girlfriend or a boyfriend to chat to, well, here we go. Here's another program for you, right? And,
it's so
and
frightening.
people,
They want.
it is. People are getting so
It's
sucked into
frightening.
it. Mm.
Look, if you start getting sucked into that, you're going into the transhumanism. That's what they want. That's the last frontier for them, for you to totally connect with something that's not human, for you to rely on something that's not human, and for you to have a relationship with something that's not human and think that's normal. It doesn't matter now if you don't go outside. You can just talk with your non-human AI phone and it'll give you everything you need.
Yeah, man. 15-minute cities, right? No need to leave your apartment, even to talk to friends. You've got one
Exactly.
right there. And it started with Siri and all these other stupid
Yes.
things. And people got into the habit of walking around going, oh, Siri. I've never had one of those things, but I've seen videos and people just ask it, oh, what about this? And I even saw a
No.
video of someone on using ChatGTP, and he was traveling to Chile. I think he was an Australian. And so he asked ChatGTP, do I need a visa? And Chat said, no, you
Oh,
don't. So he flew to
oh,
Chile, got there, and then he's making this video going, oh, I did need a visa. Maybe I won't trust ChatGPT. Like he's
you
literally took,
reckon?
like he fully believed ChatGTP to the point where he flew to the country without a visa. Like it's really showing the stupid side of humanity is what, how easily people are led. So, and this is where we are,
Yeah.
I think. We're in the split, right? And this is what's going to end up. People who can think for
Oh, yeah.
themselves, who get led around by the nose. And I've said it
Yeah,
before,
absolutely.
leaders aren't the problem. It's the followers. Because without followers, you
Exactly.
can't have a leader. It's all these people that
Spot
follow
on.
blindly, man. It's crazy.
You're spot on, Campbell. And it all started back when we had the granny crap, the oh, watch your step, make sure you close the door after yourself. Oh, please be polite to the people you talk to. All this handheld crap that started a decade or so ago, and then it really increased over the whatty business. And yes, and now it's got to, we're relying on this phone. But
Mm. Yep, I know. It's double-edged
and that,
sword, right? Like, I
it's
mean,
a
I think
double. Yep.
it's good to use, but like not to rely on and not to use for creativity. Because yeah, all these videos now, there's so many AI videos, but like you
Yep.
said, they've got voices. They're a lot better now. But half of them, you click on them and they use like David Attenborough's voice or some
Yes.
voice that we all know, and people still watch these videos. Like I've clicked
Yes.
on it a couple of times. Oh, that looks interesting. As soon as I hear that voice, I'm like, thumb down
Get off.
there, man.
Get off.
Because
Did you
it's
see that one? Sorry, did you see that one with the kids? As soon as the parents took on, would ask Siri something, the kids would just go flat on the ground and scream and put their hands over their ears. Or the
with the
parents would just,
little
little
kids.
kids.
I did see that.
Yes, and the
Yeah.
parents were teasing them and saying, "I'm going to talk to Siri and ask Siri," and they're going, "Please don't ask Siri, don't. It's scary. It's scary." And they're running with their hands over their ears, or they're going to the ground because they don't want the frequency of whatever that is. Now, doesn't that tell you something? I mean, please, parents, your children are telling you that this is not right. They're being affected emotionally. They're being affected through their bodies. They're being affected in every shape and form, and yet they're getting teased for reacting like that. That just shows me how distant we are from reality of where we should be. A parent should never tease their child when their child is experiencing something they might not see or they might not understand, but respect your children. Listen to your children.
And don't let your children have
listen to this.
phones.
Oh,
Like, let your children be the odd one out. Like, everyone's like, oh, but I have to let my child have a phone because everyone else does, and I can't think for myself or raise my own child. It's. I know it's it's a brave new world we're going forward into, right? I mean, it's all there, but people are still just walking down the line. Then, especially this AI, like every second ad is make money with AI, make money with AI.
oh yes.
AI can write your book. AI can make your website. AI can make you money. And so everyone's going,
If you can think about it, AI can make it. But doesn't that just show you that that's the closest to us becoming transhuman, bar getting something in our heads or in our brain, connecting us directly to computer? Because I can remember, Campbell, when I was working, I think it was in about the 1980s, I remember someone coming in, because I was working in the car industry at that time, and I had a customer come in. We were sitting down, we were negotiating a car and pricing of the car. And she said to me, we were just starting on computers at that stage. It must have been 90s. And she said, you do realise that sooner or later you won't even you won't even need a keypad on your computer. You will be locked in with your mind with the AI of that computer. So whatever you think, it'll be instantly on the screen. And I thought, come on, that's just ridiculous. But how far away are we from that, Campbell?
well, I would say the technology would already exist. It's just them getting us to accept, because everything's an offer. We actually have to accept it.
Yes.
They're like,
correct.
hey, would you like this? And if people say yes, well, it's all offers, right? So you just got to think of, like, there's never, ever, ever been a time where they've offered us something that it's for us to make our lives better, that hasn't gone against us and turned into something that's totally about entrapment and control every single time.
Exactly.
And here we
Every
are.
time.
People are still buying it. We're here to help you. We're here to make your life easier. I mean, after
Yes.
the Terminator and the Matrix and Brave New World and all these movies showing
It's all
us,
there.
it's all there. They
It's
tell
all
us,
there.
right?
It's like it's all like these murders and all these other like stuff going on everywhere. Well, what happened in DC? People demanded to stop the criminals and to stop all the homeless and to stop all the murders. And what they've got martial law now. They only need people to say, we want you to stop this, and bang, what are you? Locked into martial law.
Come and help us, man. I know, right? I know that's a whole other conversation, but that's why Trump won such a landslide, right? Because they needed the consent for him to go out and do whatever he wanted to do. Exactly. He's got full consent of the American people, pretty much, and that's why Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were basically Trump's biggest puppets. Well, they got him elected. They were his biggest election campaign because you couldn't vote for them. They were so retarded. But there's always an ulterior motive, guys.
Yes, the false prophet. Absolutely.
Profit, man. For profits, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Creates profits.
Follow the money. It'll give you the answer every time.
That's true, man. It's all spells.
Yes, spells, and not just in our words, but in our maths too.
Yeah, totally, man.
Yes.
Right, well, we've been going for 2 hours.
There you go.
There we go. You got an extra hour out of me. We're going to cut it short.
I always do, Campbell.
All right, jeez, milking me. Milking me dry.
We had fun.
We did, and we definitely need to, keep going down this road, I think, because, you've got more information, and it's just, I mean, this really exposes the whole story, right? It's one thing showing buildings and going, well, that's not right. How did they do it? But when we can actually show writings from the 1800s going, hang on, it was there 20 years after they landed, there was nothing here. They were building castles. I mean, that really kind of proved the point, right?
And when the narrative tells you when it was built, and yet you've got someone who is physically there describing it at a totally different time as well, it's, you know, that's why we question. It's just why we question. And it's an opinion. It's our opinion. And like I always say, Campbell, truth is someone's truth. Truth is not just one thing. It's not one parallel. It's your truth. It's my truth. It's another person's truth. It's perspective of that truth. So what's true for me might not be true for you, and that's fine. We all are at different levels. And if we can just spark a little bit in someone, that's all we ask.
Just trying to get them to think a different thought, ask a different question. But you know, as you said, you know, people have the right to be wrong. But no, all truth is perspective, really. But I mean,
it is.
It all depends on where you want to go and what world you want to live in. You know, like your truth can be the government love me and 15-minute cities are great, and that's where you'll end up. Or your truth can be it's all crap. I'm not falling for this, and you'll end up somewhere different. So that's all it's about.
We are what we attract.
We are. The world is a mirror, man. Like what we put out.
Absolutely. It's a wonderful place. And no matter what's going on and what your truth is, enjoy your life. Be in the present and love the people around you and respect.
That's the biggest revolutionary act. You know, everyone, hey, well, the government are doing it. The government, well, live a good life. Be happy. That's the best way to really stick it to the government. Raise good children. Have a good family. Enjoy yourself. Build something worthwhile. Don't sit down and complain, because all you're going to do if you sit down and complain is attract exactly what you're complaining about.
Correct. That is absolutely right. And the people, you'll attract those people too. No, thanks, not for me. I'm very excited to be alive right now. I think it's the best place ever, and I am so looking forward to more research and more observation and just watching where we all go, because it's going to be good.
Yes, man. We're going somewhere awesome. I agree. Don't believe the hype.
Nope.
Awesome. All right. Well, another great show. Great research. Thank you for your time researching all this.
You're welcome.
We can learn it. And yes, guys, leave us your comments.
Yes, and I love them. I read them. I answer everyone. And look, you know, your viewers are amazing, and I think it's like opening a Christmas present for me. I love the comments and I love answering them. It's just, thank you so much for taking the time, guys. It takes a lot of time. There's been some really long comments there, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Whether we agree or disagree, it doesn't really matter. I still appreciate it.
Indeed. All right. Well, I'll be away for the next few weeks. I'll probably be a couple of weeks before our next installment, unless I can get the internet working at fun. But I'll let you know. But we will definitely be back to continue this story and uncovering the lies of his story, right?
Yes. So exciting. Thanks, Campbell.
Thanks, Paula. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. And we'll talk to you on the next upload. Bye for now.
Bye.
Remember, in the end, nobody wins unless everybody wins. Come on!